Hey, what's up, guys? Zero One here, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about the autobiography of Steve Jobs. It was done by Mr. Isaacson, Walter Isaacson. It was published by his company, and the book is very thick, extremely thick, and it deals with Steve Jobs from the time that he was before he was even born to the time that he passed away, as we all know. And it's a very, very detailed book. It details his relationship with his biological mother, biological sister, also with his adopted parents. And another thing that I really noticed is very, very subtle. But if you don't pay attention to it, the autobiography, the sister that he grew up with, that his adopted parents raised with him, is only mentioned a couple times, and that's it. She's not mentioned again. So I don't know what happened there in that relationship. The book really doesn't specify. So yeah, and it just speaks about how his relationships not just helped Macintosh or helped come out with the really awesome products like the iPod, iPhone, iPad, stuff like that. Before the iPad, you had laptops, and before the iPhone, you had flip phones. You had phones that basically all they did is just receive texts. People got certain video games or games, but they weren't video games. They were just games like Tetris or solitaire, stuff like that. And when the iPhone and iPad and iTunes came out, it just it brought a different playing field to the entire industry. When he was born, his parents' families didn't really see eye to eye, and especially his biological mother's parents. They didn't really approve of his biological father, so she had to give him up. So that's what she did. And it really had a huge impact on Steve Jobs, because no matter how much people say, having a father or having a mother is not really that important in your life, or it doesn't really affect you that much. Well, it really does. Because what I saw in Steve Jobs is that it seemed that he was always trying to prove himself to other people, or prove himself that he was worthy. He was worthy of being important. He wanted to show other people that he could bring something to the table. It also was very tumultuous, very erratic working with Steve Jobs, because he would be very praiseworthy, but at the same time, if you would not do the things that he wanted you to do, he would have a tantrum and he would just demean you. So the book speaks about that. And at that, he went to extremes of verbally abusing people, destroying relationships that he once had, not just with his coworkers, but also with his eldest daughter, Lisa, which is one of the computers that he came up with was named after her. So that was pretty interesting. Another thing that really was interesting about Steve Jobs was his way of getting a project done. He would get the best, because one thing that he said is that the best engineers and the best computer programmers want to be with the best, because they want to do an excellent quality work. And that's what he did. He got the best of both worlds, best of architects, best of software engineer or software writers, best in computer quality or manufacturing quality. And that's how he came out with a really awesome product like the very first Macintosh computer. And it was one of a kind, because if you look at the very first Macintosh computer, the only way to fix it is through the company of Macintosh. People like nowadays, how so many students and youth and teachers can assemble their own computers. Well, when Macintosh first came out with their own computer, they made a way that the only people that can touch that hard drive or can fix the problem was him. It's nobody else. So in a sense, it was a double-edged sword, because yes, Macintosh was the one that can fix the computer, and the clients have to come to him. But at the same time, it limited the users and what they can do with the computers. So that was a really kind of like a side note to that. And it just proved how determined he was. He was very determined to make a mark in this world. He was very not just ambitious, but very strong-headed. He one time, I think he was at a VBS or a church that his parents used to go to, and he went up to the pastor and he told him, what type of God will allow this to happen to people, and basically he showed a picture of this I think Ethiopian, or this picture of this person starving to death. And ever since then, he thought that the only way to actually get to God, or there's many different roads to get to God. So he had that philosophy, like that Buddhist philosophy, excuse me. So that was pretty interesting about him. I didn't even know that he was Buddhist until he passed away, and I read his obituary. Or was it his obituary, or his his Wikipedia biography? I think it really Isaacson did a real good job in categorizing the book the way he did, because each and every chapter speaks not just about his next step in life, or his relationship, but also about what was Steve Jobs during that, like his mindset of that time period. There was that mindset that the mindset that he had when he first started off with Steve Wozniak, creating computers out of his parents' garage. Or was it his parents or Steve Wozniak's parents' garage? Well, they started coming out with computer-based products from the garage of one of their parents, and an investor decided to invest in them, and that's how Macintosh started off. It was a very interesting way to start off a company. He was a very entrepreneur person. He didn't just start off with Macintosh, but he also started off Next, and he also started off, or actually, him and Bill Gates worked together on different, or not many projects, but certain projects, and they had certain point of views on where or what's the next step for the company. Bill Gates was more of a focus on having third parties actually work with Microsoft, and Microsoft actually allowing their products or the product of their party to be a part of their company, and it'll be like a universal type of language or universal type of product. And Jobs was different. Jobs was very exclusive. He wanted the Macintosh computer to just run Mac software, and those two different philosophies went the opposite ways, but at the same time it helped out both Macintosh and Microsoft, because you look at Macintosh and Microsoft now, it's basically you could use Microsoft products with the Macintosh, and you can use Macintosh product with the Microsoft. So it all worked out at the end. And it also speaks about his relationships with his bosses at Macintosh and Pixar. He worked for Pixar and Macintosh, and he was dividing his time in those two companies, and it was pretty, this guy was dedicated, you could say. But overall, the book is very well done. One thing I could definitely give you a heads up was, other than it's really thick, I mean, it goes into detail about so much of his life. There's also a cursing, some cussing. So, be careful with that. If you're the type of person that doesn't mind reading into that, then go ahead. But if you're the type of person that wants, your son or daughter to kind of learn from Steve Jobs, or to understand him, because you really like some of the products that he comes out with, well, if your daughter and son are, 13 or 14, and you really don't want them to start picking up some of the junk that, that during the 60s was around, because there's certain thing in the book that Steve Jobs saw and he did that really it's not for a teenager. just a heads up. But yeah, it was a very well done book. I'm really just shocked how he would treat his employees. I mean, he will get the best from them. He'll come out with his employees will come out with some awesome ideas for products, and later on he would speak about, to the audience when he would go to those computer conferences, those Mac conferences that everybody loves to go to, and he would kind of like speak like he actually came up with an idea, and a lot of engineers, software engineers, and both manufacturing engineers for Macintosh were very upset with him about that. So the book is very detail oriented. You'll be kind of like there for well, if you're a fast reader, it'll probably take you 2.5 days to finish. Just nonstop, just read. But if you're a type of person that has a job and has a life and have a family, you'll be there for, I think, 3 weeks, 2 weeks tops. It depends how much you read, or it depends how much time you have free. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak to you about the autobiography of Steve Jobs, or bibliography of Steve Jobs. And you guys have an awesome day. Later. Bye.